Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice of radio, so I've made a podcast. But we're not watching a podcast today. No. We are watching a video from the St Austell down in Cornwall in the UK Regional Championships. Now this happened in the expanded format, so all the sets are legal from black and white all the way through to breakpoint. We are playing 50 minutes and we are playing best of 3. Huge thank you to Vinnie Gardner and all at Mad for Miniatures for making us especially welcome and comfortable and doing everything they could to help. They are lovely, lovely people. If you're in the area, if you're in Cornwall in the UK, check them out. As always, ladies and gentlemen, grab yourself a nice cold beverage or warm, I don't want to tell you what to do, and enjoy this game from St Austell Regional Championships. Best of 3, 50 minutes, black and white to breakpoint. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on the left we have Luke Kirkham. He is going to be playing Mega Rayquaza, and on the right we have Sheldon Kupan. He is going to be playing Virizion Genesect. So he starts off straight away, he plays a Colress machine that allows him to search through his deck and attach a Plasma Energy to one of his Plasma Pokemon. I believe it's just a Plasma Pokemon, I'm going to have to look that up at some point. And he's going to want to get that Genesect out of the active. Now there goes a Sky Arrow Bridge, which is going to allow him to retreat all his Pokemon for free. It reduces the retreat cost of any basic Pokemon by 1, but they've all except for Hooper in fact. They all have a retreat cost of 1. So he grabs his Hooper, uses that Scoundrel Ring ability, and searches out a Deoxys, a Shaymin, and a Genesect. Now, this is a rough matchup for Sheldon. It's been a little while since we saw Virizion Genesect, and Virizion Genesect is one of those decks that it's benefited kind of from the new cards. Cards like Max Elixir, for instance, that allow you to look at the top 6 cards of your deck and put a basic energy that you find there onto one of your benched basic Pokemon. Now, one of the problems with Virizion Genesect in the past was you needed 2 manual attachments, 2 Grass Energy, or Grass and a Regular, onto Virizion, so that you could then Emerald Slash and attach 2 Grass Energy to one of your bench Pokemon, which in this case would be the Genesect. Oh, there goes a Sycamore to get him a new hand of cards. Now, the problem was that when we got decks like Night March came out, they could KO the Virizion before you would go ahead and get your your Emerald Slashes off and your Genesect, and then you would lose. So you needed a way to get that turn 1 Emerald Slash. And I would not leave that Genesect in the active. If Luke gets a turn 1 KO here, which is entirely possible, Sheldon is going to lose that Genesect and he's going to lose that energy. And energy is important. And then we see a Skyfield and oh, that's all right. So Getsis is going to get Luke an extra 2 cards. Sheldon, however, has a Sycamore in hand, so he's going to be able to draw cards next turn. That is all right. Now, I know there was a little bit of glare from Sheldon's sleeves there, but I'm going to keep you up to date. Now, this is going to be a one-hit KO fest. To be perfectly honest, it is going to be a one-hit KO fest. Interesting that Luke chose to bench that Seismitoad, given its grass weakness and the difficulty, as we're going to talk about, that Sheldon is going to have KOing those Mega Rayquazas. But he needed to draw more cards with Shaymin, and of course, when, he's already got that Shaymin on the bench, so, okay, you can sit there and go, well, that Seismitoad is Genesect fodder. Well, you know what? So is the Shaymin. So, what you're going to do. And he's got to fill up his bench anyway to get the KOs. Luke here, he is going to hope to get the first KO. So if Luke gets an EX KO and then gets one every turn, it doesn't matter what Sheldon does. Luke is going to try and get 3 KOs in 3 turns on EXs, as is Sheldon. Now, Luke is going to be using Mega Rayquaza's attack, which does 30 damage times the number of bench Pokemon you have. So, of course, he's got his Skyfield there, which is going to hopefully allow him, it's going to allow him to get up to 8 bench Pokemon. So here he gets another Shaymin there, and he needs a few things. Now, he can do it this turn. He's going to need a double colourless energy, and he's going to need to get an energy in the discard, which he's going to be able to do with that battle compressor he just grabbed. Allows him to discard 3 cards from his deck. And he gets his Execute there, which is really good. It allows you to basically propagate, bring him out of the discard pile. So you can use that to bring it out of your hand and discard as part of an Ultra Ball or a computer search, but you can also use it just to put on your bench as an extra Pokemon if you don't have enough Pokemon on the bench to get a KO. So he's going to need a DCE, he's going to need a Mega Turbo, which he's got in his hand, and he's going to need a Spirit Link, and he's going to need a Mega Rayquaza. And you get another, oh, there's the Spirit Link, and there's the DCE, and he's got the Mega Turbo. Does he have the Mega? Now, we used Hooper. I don't know if he grabbed the Mega with Hooper. Now, he may well not have done, because to grab the Mega meant he would have had to hold it in his hand and get less cards with his Shaman. So he's got the DCE, he's got the Spirit Link, he's even got the Mega Turbo. Oh, so he gets 60 with the first attack. Now it's up to Sheldon. Now, the other reason to retreat that Genesect last turn would have been that it would be on the bench this turn, which would allow him to use Max Elixir. Oh my goodness, he just drew 5 energy in a row there. So Max Elixir, if he hits it, is not going to do very much. So it's ended up not retreating that Genesect, has ended up not being the end of the world. He's taken 6 damage, but it's really not the worst thing. Sheldon there loses that energy though, so it is a bad thing. Had he retreated last turn with the Sky Arrow Bridge, then he would have not lost the energy. Although arguably, if he'd retreated last turn, he'd have put something active that he wouldn't be able to retreat this turn. So maybe there is an argument for keeping that Genesect in the active last turn and retreating it this turn. He at least got the Emerald Slash. So Luke gets a Stay of Execution, and we know he's got the Mega Turbo in hand. Oh, did he top deck that? I think he might have just top decked the Mega. There he gets the energy, he gets the KO on the Virizion, and this is going to be awkward. Or is it? Now here's what Sheldon's going to have to do next turn. I've explained how you've got that free energy attack from Rayquaza. I should mention he's also got that Delta Revolution Ancient trait, which allows you to Mega Revolve on the same turn you put it down. And of course, Spirit Link stops you ending your turn. So you get the Mega Rayquaza with free energy on, and you do 30 damage times the number of bench Pokemon. At the moment, 7 bench Pokemon means he's doing 210 damage. And he hasn't used his attachment for the turn. So what Luke is going to want to do is try... Oh, and that's a Colress, which is for a huge amount of... I think that's 12 cards, that Colress. Not the maximum, of course. There's a Spirit Link. Now, he hasn't used his attachment for the turn. There it is. So it's going very well for Luke here. Even if that Rayquaza gets KO'd, he's going to need another Mega Turbo. Oh, and you see he gets an energy and a discard ready, and a Mega Evolution, and he can get the KO next turn as well. So one of the things Sheldon is going to need to do next turn, he needs to get rid of that Skyfield. Otherwise, Luke's just got the KO next turn. And there we go, it's straight down. We know he's... So if he's got a Mega Turbo, and spoiler alert, he's got a computer search in hand to get it, he has got the other KO next turn. So if Sheldon doesn't get rid of that stadium, there is no way Luke doesn't get the KO next turn. So he gets the KO this turn. An N would be pretty nice as well, quite frankly. So, Sheldon here, he's got the energy. Now, what he's going to need is he's going to need his G Booster A-Spec. That is an A-Spec, it's an item card, a tool that you can attach to Genesect, and it gives him an attack where if you discard 2 energy, you get to do 200 damage. Although with the Deoxys on the bench, who has an ability which raises the damage output of your Plasma Pokemon by 10, then it will actually do 210 and will one-hit KO a Rayquaza, which is useful. Because otherwise it's very, very difficult to be able to hit that amount of damage that he needs to do. It can be very, very awkward. But here's the thing. Luke got the first KO, which means it doesn't really matter if Sheldon goes and gets a KO this turn. And just checking, it's 220 HP on the Rayquaza, so Sheldon would actually need a second Deoxys in order to get the KO on the Mega Rayquaza. Not that it really matters on a fresh Mega Rayquaza. Though it doesn't matter here because he's only got 160 HP left. And it doesn't really matter if he can use his Red Signal ability. That is where you attach a Plasma Energy from your hand to Genesect. Then you get to drag a bench Pokemon up. into the active, not unlike a Lysander. Oh, and he hit the Max Elixir. Oh, was that double Max Elixir? I looked away for 1 second. So now he's got the Genesect. So Sheldon's got a chance here. So he gets the... Oh, no, okay, that's pretty much game. And the reason it's pretty much game is because he didn't get the G-Booster. So what's going to happen now is Luke's taken 2 prizes. Luke is guaranteed to take 2 prizes this turn. He has got the KO on the Genesect regardless. All he needs to do is hit a Mega Turbo or even just an Energy here, quite frankly. And he'll be able to get a second Mega Rayquaza up and running. And there is no possible way Sheldon wins this game unless he hits a Stadium and Luke doesn't hit either a Skyfield, because if he hits a Skyfield, he doesn't need any more Pokemon. He can propagate that, execute and put it on the bench, and then he'll have 6, which is enough to get the KO. Or a Lysander to KO a Shaman. Now that was the turn for Sheldon. He KOs that Mega Rayquaza. Then this turn, and then next turn, he's able to hit a Red Signal and KO another Pokemon. But he'd have to KO the Mega Rayquaza. See, the problem is, Sheldon needs the first KO, and he didn't get the first KO, Luke did. If Sheldon gets the first KO, and like I said, there's no way Luke doesn't win here. You know, Sheldon's going to come up, and he's got the KO without the G-Booster, but who cares? Luke's got the KO anyway. Oh, okay, now... The only possible, and it's going to be a little bit awkward, Sheldon has got to get a Fighting Fury belt on that Genesect. So there is a tiniest win margin here. Sheldon needs a Fighting Fury belt on that Genesect to put it up to 220 HP. And then next turn, he's going to need to hit a Plasma Energy so that he can bring up a bench Shaman and KO that. Or... he can just hope Luke doesn't hit a Lysander or a Skyfield. As I've said, if he hits a Lysander, he KOs a Shaman. If he hits a Skyfield, then he can just put the Skyfield down. He's then allowed up to 8 bench Pokemon. He propagates the Execute, pops it on the bench. He's then got 6. He's hitting for 180. Oh, and it looks like he got an AZ there, which he's going to be able to use to pick up the Shaman and reuse its setup ability. So things are not looking good for Sheldon here. And this is really what it comes down to. Rayquaza can get the... Oh, he's got the Fighting Fury belt. Oh, and he's got that Red Sig... and he's got the Plasma Energy. Although, see, that's still only his first 2 prizes. Had Sheldon taken a KO last turn, then that maybe would have saved him, but it hasn't, unfortunately. Is that G-Booster prized? It might be. I can't quite see. Oh, and there's the Lysander on the Shaman, and that's game. It's only doing 120, but only needs to do 120. And this is what this game comes down to. Luke is going to be trying to use Mega Rayquaza to KO Sheldon's EXs, and Sheldon is going to try to use a G-boosted Genesect to KO Luke's EXs. And here's why Luke has such a big advantage in this game. It is a darn sight easier for Luke to get a free energy Mega Rayquaza than it is for Sheldon to get a free energy Genesect. Luke can go DCE Mega Turbo. Boom. He's got it. Double colorless energy and a Mega Turbo. He's off. Sheldon, now, if he runs hot, he can do it. He's got Max Elixir, which allow him to attach an extra energy to his bench. And he's got Colress Machine. And, of course, he's got his regular attachments. The problem is he wants to use Emerald Slash, and if he uses Emerald Slash, he's basically letting Luke have the first KO. And as we saw in the previous game, if Luke gets the first KO, it doesn't really matter what Sheldon does. Luke just needs to stream Rayquazas, and as long as he can continue to stream Rayquazas, he will win the game. It is going to happen. Bit depressing, I know, ladies and gentlemen, but that's the way it goes. Sorry, Sheldon. Not unwinnable, not by any stretch of the imagination. It is a winnable game, but it is a very difficult game. Now, at this stage, I should say a huge thank you to Vinnie Gardner and all at Mad for Miniatures. Just like in the City Championship we recorded recently, they gave us a little room at the back to record in. I forgot my extension lead, and they had an extension lead ready for me to use, which was beautiful of them. And they could not have been nicer, lovelier, and more accommodating. Thank you to Sheldon and Luke as well for agreeing to be on stream. I did have a couple people ask not to be on stream in this particular tournament. Only in top 8, and the game we recorded in top 8, the camera failed anyway, so it didn't matter. But there was a kind of trade-off happening here. The room everyone else was playing in was very, very cold, but you had to stand up on stream. So do you stand up on stream, or do you sit down in the cold? Assuming you're offered to be on stream, of course. And thank you to Susie Masters, who kindly donated, just for the day of course, her World Championship double-sided playmat. Very nice of her indeed. This is not the World Championships, but look at that beautiful playmat. You'd want to use it too. So thank you to Susie Masters. I forgot to remind her, and she brought it anyway, completely of her own volition, which was lovely of her. Now, talking about these players just for a second, Luke is actually on the roll to top 22. Now, the top 22 players by number of championship points in Europe and Africa, although Africa does not have a huge player base, do get a paid invite to Worlds. That means they get their flight and accommodation paid for. They also get straight into day 2 rather than having to qualify through day 1, which, as we saw for the first time at 2015 Worlds last year, was exceptionally difficult. Oh, Max Elixir hits on the Virizion turn 1, which is very nice. He Ultra Balled for the Virizion. He's got that Fighting Fury bout, and he hit the Max Elixir. And there is a high 5 because there's a Sycamore with an empty hand for 7 cards. So, Sheldon, on the other hand, Luke, he's not quite there yet, but he's getting close. It's going to be close one way or the other, but he's got a definite chance at top 22. Sheldon, on the other hand, is very, very close. He needs, I think, 13 points for his World invite, so a top cut today will get him there, but he could make it up by winning a League Challenge. Although, hilariously, if he goes to a League Challenge and gets second, he will then have 299 points and be 1 point away. Now, this is a very risky play from Sheldon here. He hit double max... No, it looks like he hit 1 Max Elixir. He hit a Max Elixir. He got the energy onto the Virizion. And I thought he played 2, but then I'm sure he had an energy in his hand. Either way, he's got 2 energy down, and they're both on his Virizion. And his Virizion's in the active. Now, Virizion has got 220 HP by virtue of that Fighting Fury belt. But Luke can do that. Now, he'll need the full 8 bench Pokemon. 7 bench Pokemon will only allow him to do 210 HP. But if Luke is able to hit this, and it is a possibility, then all of a sudden, Sheldon is losing. And I'm lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. Virizion has 170 HP, which means Fighting Fury about puts him on 210, which is significant because that's 7 bench Pokemon rather than 8. Now, that's still difficult. Luke will still need energy in the discard, and then he'll need a Mega Turbo. He needs a DCE. He needs the Mega Rayquaza, and he needs a total of 7 bench Pokemon. But it's doable. Now, we know he's already got the Spirit Link, so he does search out the Mega using Hooper. And now he uses Shaman to get him an extra 3 cards. So there goes... Oh, and he's got another Shaman off that, which is pretty nice. Now, he's got the Battle Compressor, so he's going to be able to get an energy in the discard here. So all he needs to do is draw into that Mega Turbo. So now the pieces are starting to fall. Luke needs to hit here a Mega Turbo, a DCE, and 3 bench Pokemon, or 2, because we know he's got the... Oh, no, sorry, he can get rid of the Execute here as well, which essentially is an extra bench Pokemon, assuming it's not prized. So that's going to give him 6 bench Pokemon and an energy in the discard. So now Luke is going to need 1 bench Pokemon, a Mega Turbo, and a DCE. And I don't think he's played a supporter yet. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's played a supporter yet. So this is looking pretty good for Luke here. And if he gets this, Sheldon... I don't know, because we don't even know if he plays a second Deoxys. A lot of people just play one so that they can get a KO on something like a Shaman, because you're doing 110, not 100. Now we see another Shaman there. Now Luke will put this down anyway, because that is enough bench Pokemon. So even if he doesn't draw many cards off the Shaman, not only does it allow him to... Oh, is that the Mega Turbo? That is a Mega Turbo. So now he just needs a double Colourless Energy, and he's got it. Now, he's got 6 bench Pokemon here. He's got a VS Seeker he can use to reuse a Colrus. Now, I was just about to say, he can put the Execute down before playing the Colrus, and that will give him an extra card. So he's now Colrusing for 8 cards. If he hits a DCE off these 8 cards, ladies and gentlemen, he has got a KO on that Virizion, and I really don't think there is any way back for Sheldon here. Now, there is a possibility if he plays a second Deoxys, he could put one Genesect active, hit double Max Elixir or Max Elixir Colrus Machine and an energy, and double Deoxys, and get the KO on that Rayquaza, and kind of force Luke into not having very much. That is a possibility, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a somewhat distant possibility. It is going to be far from easy to do. Forgive that little thing coming up. My computer was about to give up the ghost in the middle of this turn. I had to plug it in, and as you saw there, he did hit the DCE off the Colrus to 8. Sorry, off to 9. I'm lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. That was a Colrus to 9. And now this is not impossible for Sheldon. He needs a Sky Arrow Bridge. He needs a Max Elixir and either a Max Elixir or a Colrus Machine. It is doable. And he Sycamores for 7 here. And he needs a pair of Deoxys. Now, if he doesn't play 2 Deoxys, he's lost the game. Well, I mean, that's not entirely true. I'm saying that. It's very flippant. It is possible he wins the game. It is possible that he puts down a Sky Arrow Bridge and that Luke is never able to grab a Skyfield. And he never gets a one-hit KO, and Sheldon just takes the game from here. But it's very difficult. Sheldon needs to take the first KO in this game, in this matchup. Oh, and he's just passed, guaranteeing Luke the second KO. And there really is no way back here, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. Because now Luke's going to start getting it like we saw in the previous game. Luke's already got a Mega on the bench, so he's going to need a DCE, and he's going to try and get a Mega Turbo, and he's going to start building up that second Rayquaza. And it's just so difficult here for Sheldon. It's winnable, but it's so difficult. Because in a lot of matchups, Sheldon would be able to just use Red Signal to pick off Shamans on the bench. But the problem is, if he does that, Luke is going to have a Mega Rayquaza active with a whole bunch of energy on, and he's just going to be able to, you know, just sit there and smash, essentially. And he's going to be able to KO every single Pokemon Sheldon ever puts active. It's all... I feel so sorry for Sheldon in this matchup. And Luke, I mean, like I've said, Luke is a phenomenal player. He is one of the best players in the UK. He is very, very good at deck building. He makes exceptional decks. And as you've seen in both the games here, Luke's deck just runs well. Luke's deck wins. And we see this on... Luke's been on stream quite a lot, I record, in the UK. Almost exclusively. And, in fact, so far, exclusively, if I remember correctly. But Danish Nationals, ladies and gentlemen... That's where it's changing. And, you know, we've seen Luke on stream a lot, and his decks are very consistent. They're very consistent. Other than that one game where I played Mind Chow and he played Manectric Bats, and we both drew completely horrifically, and my Mind Fu got KO'd by a muscle-banded Zubat. That happened. And he knows what he's doing, does Luke, and he plays very well, and unfortunately, this is a rough matchup for Sheldon. And when it's a rough matchup, and you come against a player like Luke, who's got such a consistent deck, who's so good at playing these decks, it becomes very, very difficult to actually get much done, quite frankly. It's sad, ladies and gentlemen, but what can you do? So we see a Lysander here, pulling that Hooper into the active, and Sheldon is going to get a KO on the Hooper. Oh, no, he's not. He's going to do 100 to Hooper, and 20 to the Mega Rayquaza. Now, this tells me that Sheldon doesn't play a second Deoxys, because it's not prized. I don't think it's prized. Because here, he's basically saying, look, I cannot hit 220 in one turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit your bench Mega Rayquaza for 20, and then next turn, I'm either going to use another Lysander, or, that's pointless now, or a Red Signal to bring that Rayquaza into the active and get the KO with G-Booster, doing 200 plus the 20 already on it, KO. Oh, and there's a Rosic to get rid of the G-Booster. That's huge. So now Sheldon, and here's the thing, and this is big. Sheldon can get that G-Booster back using a Shadow Triad. But if he uses a Shadow Triad to recover that G-Booster, that means that he's not using an N, which he needs to. He needs to replace a Stadium. He needs to N Luke. Now, also putting that Shaman down is big, because if he ends Luke and Luke doesn't draw a Skyfield, Luke is capped at 150 damage, 5 times 30. So he cannot KO anything that's on Sheldon's bench. But now he can KO a Shaman. So either Luke needs a Skyfield, and again, he's got that. He'll discard the Execute when he has to discard Pokemon down to a bench of 5. So as soon as he hits a Skyfield, he recovers that Execute and can do 180. But now he doesn't even need Skyfield. Now he can instead hit a Lysander and KO the Shaman. Because as you see on Luke's bench there, he's got a second Mega Rayquaza ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. And this is worrying for Sheldon. Now he gets the Fighting Fury belt, but he doesn't get a KO. And Luke here just needs a Lysander. And he's got the KO. Now, Luke, assuming this Hooper gets KO'd. Oh, there's a Rosic to get rid of a DCE. And then a Red Signal. But he's not got the KO here. So I can see where Sheldon's going with this. But Mega Rayquaza, if I remember correctly, doesn't have a huge retreat cost. I think it might be a retreat cost of 1. Which means that Luke can just manually retreat it. Yeah, and put up the other one. Now, he hasn't got the KO yet. He needs to do... Oh, and I think Genesect might actually have 170 as... No, I think Genesect has 180. Which means... Oh, no, he's got it. Oh, he's got 8 bench Pokemon anyway. So it's actually 170, but it's all a moot point. Luke gets the KO with Mega Rayquaza, and as we saw there, ladies and gentlemen, it's a rough matchup for Sheldon, and you got to feel bad for Sheldon, but these things happen, unfortunately. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you click that like button. If you have not clicked that like button, I will take it as a personal slight against me and everything that I hold dear. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and find a friend to subscribe if you have. As I speak, we are tantalizingly close to 3,000 subscribers, 97,000 short of my first YouTube award. Think big, ladies and gentlemen. So, give me a hand. I would very much appreciate it. And of course, make sure you comment if there's anything you'd like to say other than, can I have the deck list? Because the answer is, I'm terribly sorry. I don't want to be mean. It's not mine to give out. But I am on stream in round 4. And yes, you can have my deck list. Thank you very much for watching. Look after yourselves till next time. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.